Okay, have you ever wondered why there are no more hurricanes that come out of the Gulf of Mexico? I'm going to explain to you how Haarp is being used to shut down low pressures that form in the Gulf of Mexico before they can become tropical storms and then develop into hurricanes. And the sea surface temperature of the Gulf of Mexico is very warm. We should be seeing a lot of tropical storm development out of the Gulf of Mexico, and instead we see nothing. And here, let me show you the Haarp is actually being used to crush a building low pressure, and this is the Gulf of Mexico. Here's South Texas, and here's Mexico, and here is a little bunch of clouds that is being crushed. And earlier there was this ring was much nicer. It formed small and moved outward, but unfortunately I updated and the ring got kind of dissipated. Even though we can see, here's the outer ring, and then they did another inner ring here, right here, this inner ring. But the key to realizing this is a Haarp downburst is this clockwise rotation right here. See, this is clockwise, and the surface pressure map is down here. This is the guy that we're talking about, this little dot. Very tiny. Let me have a zoom in a little. Okay, this little guy here. This is showing it's got counterclockwise surface rotation. This is the surface pressure map, sea level. So this is a building low pressure, even though the pressure line here is, oh my gosh, look at this. It's like 1,000 miles, or 800 miles or so. There is zero pressure gradient there. So very, very little wind, no wind at the surface. And even more so with the jet stream, there's just absolutely no jet stream wind here. So why do we see this clockwise rotation? First you have some clouds, then you get the rings, then there's clockwise rotation, and the cloud is gone. Okay, that's water vapor mode. Here's long wave infrared. It's a little bit clearer. Okay, long wave infrared. You can see the outer ring, and then there's a second outflow boundary or roll cloud, smoke ring, the evidence of the Haarp downburst. And it's actually, it looks like 3 spokes right here, and they start rotating clockwise. And here's shortwave infrared. Again, it's the same thing. You can see the 2 rings, and right on top of this. So that's what they're doing, is there's a Haarp transmitter nearby, and I'd rather not say where it is, but it is what is used to control these low pressures, to stop them from building up before they can ever become a tropical depression, and then a tropical storm, and then a hurricane. And that is why if you go and look at NOAA, and I tried for a long time to find a chart that shows the number of Gulf of Mexico hurricanes per year, and guess what? It doesn't exist. I've got some. This is about the best you can do. This is continental United States hurricane strikes, 1950 to 2011. And if we just look at the Gulf Coast, each one is described by year. So we can actually try to figure out when did the Haarp transmitter get installed and stop the hurricanes in the Gulf. Here we got 1985, Rita, 2005, and blue means category 3. So 2005, there was a big one called Rita. Umberto 2007, yellow's category 1. And then see, there's no other 2000s here. And if we look down here, Ike 2008 was a big one. That's a category 2. The yellow's category 1, brown's category 2, and blue's category 3. And 2003, Claudette category 1. Dolly 2008 was a category 2. Okay, and that's the last one. 2008 was the last year that hurricanes hit the Gulf Coast. 97, 98, Katrina 2005, category 3. Okay, everybody might remember that name. 97, 2008, Gustav was category 2. And let me scroll this over. But my point is that the last hurricanes to hit the Gulf Coast were in 2008. 2004, Ivan was category 3. 2005, Dennis, category 3. And no more there. 2004, we got a Charlie and Black, and then Wilma was category 3. Let me see what a black one is. The legend is right here. Okay, black is category 4. Okay, so go back over. So Wilma was category 3. Charlie 2004 category 4. Alright, so this chart from NOAA.gov shows that since 2008 was the last year to have real hurricanes, have any hurricanes hit the Gulf Coast. And you might say, well, that's because, well, the water's much cooler now since 2008, and boy, that would be wrong. Okay, the current temperatures for the Gulf Coast, let me increase this. This is, here's Florida, and then Louisiana and Texas coast, and here's Mexico, and here's Yucatan. So the majority of this is the light yellow, or light yellowish green, and the green. So if we look at the chart down here, this chart shows that it's these two, 29 Celsius to 31 Celsius. So if we look at, here's 2014, again, same data, just different format. This is temperature anomalies since you know, the 1980s. Here's 0. Anything yellow or above is warmer. Anything blue is cooler than the historical norm. And look, it's all solid yellow. So that's maybe 1 degree Celsius above normal. Here's 2008, the year that we had all those violent hurricanes in the Gulf. And here we see the blue. Again, it's the same scale. Blue is cooler than normal, the historical normal. Yellow's warmer. And if we look at the Gulf, heck, half of the Gulf is cooler than normal. Half of the Gulf is warmer than normal. So in other words, 2008 we had a bad hurricane season, and half the Gulf, most of the Gulf was cooler than normal, whereas now the Gulf is much warmer than normal and no hurricanes. And here's 2005, the last year, well, the Katrina year, and if we look at that, again we've got not a very good picture, but it's again, there's cold air, cold water there, and same type of situation we have in 2014. So my point is, the water temperature has nothing to do with the fact that we don't have hurricanes anymore. The water's warmer. In fact, if we look back, really an old historical chart would be, hopefully this, no, okay, not this one, okay, this one. Gulf of Mexico mean annual. I'm going to increase this. Gulf of Mexico mean annual sea surface temperature. And here we can see it's from years before present. Okay, here's 1,000 years ago. It was 25 degrees centigrade. And, okay, the modern era, well, that's not right. We just saw it's 31 degrees centigrade. So it's been pretty darn cold in the Gulf of Mexico for 1,000 years. But now we're at 31 degrees centigrade, which is right off the scale. It's way over the top because this only goes to 27.2. So in other words, you guys who say there's no global warming, look at this chart. The sea surface temperature of the Gulf of Mexico is off the chart. It's at 31 now, whereas the historical average is, well, 25.4, or actually the average would be down here somewhere. 24.3 might be the average. So, and here is the latest data from NOAA. This is proof that they are trying to hide this information, that we don't have hurricanes in the Gulf anymore. Okay, this is the number of systems of hurricanes per year, and it goes back incredibly to 1855. So they have data showing 1855. 1855, there were this many hurricanes, like 5. And now we come to the present, and what do we see? They do not give us. They stopped the chart in the year 2005, and this is a brand new 2014 document off of the NOAA.gov website. So in other words, after 2005, the Katrina year, the number of hurricanes fell off the cliff, went down to 0, and they don't want to show this on the chart because in 2009 the Haarp transmitter was installed and stopped the hurricanes from developing in the Gulf, or at least stopped them from traversing. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, it's very nice that they can protect the people who live on the Gulf Coast. But this same technology is now being used in the Pacific to make sure that no low pressure systems can come onshore in California and Oregon and Washington State, and that's why you have drought and horrible wildfires. So this technology is being used, you know, basically for beneficial reasons in the Gulf Coast, in the Gulf of Mexico, but in California, they're making this man-made drought just worse and longer and longer. So, in fact, if you look at the water vapor mode, you can see them chemtrailing off the coast. For instance, here's a possible low pressure trying to build in the deep Pacific, you know, roughly 1,000 or 1,500 miles west of California, and here they chemtrail it. They're chemtrailing this. And again, chemtrails create the hot air layer aloft, thermal inversion, which then stops the convection. So the chemtrails can shut down a low pressure that's trying to build here. And not only that, the jet stream is dragging this, whatever it is, into California, and I think these are chemtrails, at least partly. So they're making sure that California stays saturated with chemtrails, and there's no way that you're going to have rain when you have chemtrails up there because of the hot air layer. So this is why I think there are no more hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it's just really conspicuous. So as much as they work to hide all this on the satellites, you know, it's still there if you know what to look for. But there is no reason to have clockwise rotation on this cloud system here. It's absolutely classic. First you have, okay, this is water vapor mode, so you have clouds building up, no surface wind, no jet stream wind, and then you have a ring form around it, a second ring, and actually a third ring formed in the same place, and then you have clockwise rotation, and then the clouds disappear because they're crushed by descending dry air. That's a man-made high pressure. That's what Haarp does. You heat the ionosphere 50 to 100 miles up. It's just like a balloon popping. It presses this dry air down wherever you want, and they use it to crush this building low pressure before it can form a hurricane or a tropical storm or tropical depression. It's crushed. And there is a nearby Haarp transmitter. I'd just rather not say where it is. This is not coming from the Pacific coast. It's much closer by. And it is what is has been causing the drought in Texas constantly. But you cannot argue that that is clockwise rotation. I want somebody to tell me that's not clockwise rotation. Whoops. You tell me that's not clockwise rotation. Oh, and I got a scratch on the monitor. Sorry about that. That is clockwise rotation. And, you know, cool thing is, you know, look at all these other storm systems down there, or clouds. Number one, none of them, you don't see any of them that are like doing this disappearing act, and you don't see any of them trying to rotate clockwise suddenly. But the Gulf of Mexico is very warm. There should be low pressure tropical depressions forming all over it, and instead, well, let me just show you this surface map. Here's a surface map, and they don't show anything. No low pressures down here, nothing, because they manage them. They manage them to prevent devastating storms. This is why the Haarp technology should be made public. One of the many reasons. But a lot of this activity is for beneficial reasons. To prevent another Katrina, maybe a Katrina every month. So I'm saying the American public is paying for this technology. We have every right to know about it, know about its existence, and that it should be managed by a consortium of scientists who can make sure that it's used for beneficial purposes. Okay, thanks for watching.